know that AI won't really replace us, not for the, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, because we know that we will use it more extensively, but any human would get much more more abilities to perform much better. So this is my guiding line. AI won't replace us. So how would we use it as a tool? So first of all, we know that LLM or AI that uses LLM is large
Large
language,
language
yeah, model.
modules.
Exactly. Which means that it works well with text, which is something that's kind of important for for humanities overall. Um, so we want to both preserve the self-learning for each, whether it's students or academic person, and both of like him making us drafts and we like review his drafts and to have some sort of collaboration. So let's take some examples that I personally created. First of all, you have we all know Notebook LM, right? There's no need for me to like display how to use it. However, I will close the screen for a moment. However, you can easily like generate content like all the notebook you see right now that has to do with something to do with AI. I was generating using one specific command, which is a tool I created, and I'll show you in a minute. That called Learn Toolkit. This is the tool I created. I give him the topic. He launches several um, search
Pages.
engines. Yeah. And it gives me all the data that he found relevant to the topic, puts it into the Notebook LM, generates sources, and I got a podcast flashcards out of Notebook LM in a minute of work. So this is one solution. We can just get a glimpse of any subject with reliable sources. I would say reliable because they're on the internet, but essentially they give you something that has to do with the topic, which is, let's say, 2 times more than searching in Google, but it gives you actual results with really important tools to learn. This is one thing. The other thing, which is I created, this was via programming, not specifically with AI, is like Anki cards. If you don't know Anki, you don't really need to know it. It's basically an application to create flashcards. Flashcards where you can decide this what will be in each side of the card and also the style and the context of each card. So let's take, for example, I had a course on political philosophy. I was generating really easily 1,200 cards, which
Wow.
each one looks like that. It's a question. And let me show the answer. You get the answer, you get the context, and you get the source, right?
Fantastic.
I was working on the sources for, let's say, an hour, okay, per source, and it generated all of the cards for me.
Did you use it for a test, for an
Yeah,
exam?
yeah.
And how much did you get, if I may ask?
So I got like 80. I got 80, but the average was 60.
Oh, I
So
see.
it was American questions, so it's not really easy for me, but
I gotta
essentially,
tell you,
yeah.
as a student, I took a course on modern philosophy, modern continental philosophy, and the professor was boring as hell. I mean, he was a disaster. I couldn't stand it. After 2 lessons, I couldn't participate. It was horrible.
Mhm.
But then came the exam, and I didn't know what to do because I knew nothing. So
Yeah.
I took all of the topics from the syllabus and I studied them. This is way back. We're talking 2005. And I just opened the Hebrew Encyclopedia and I learned everything from there and I got 95.
Nice.
And it was an open exam. It wasn't so, and I realized then what a waste of time that course was. If I could get an A plus in an exam in an annual course, only using the encyclopedia. It took me less than 5% of the participation time. It was such a waste of time. And what you're doing here, I think it's fabulous. It really is fantastic. It's very efficient. The only problem is that you have to attend the course. That's why I'm
Mhm.
trying to maneuver my courses to somewhere that will indeed use the time as an investment and not as something you need to scroll through.
Yeah.
Uh, I hope I'll succeed in it, but yeah, wonderful, fantastic.
So yeah, these kind of tools are for this regard to help teachers to provide an easy tools for users to learn. So also I wanted to mention that I also took all the recordings from the site of like other course that I have, and I extracted the soundtrack and I uploaded it to Notebook LM with one command, and this is all the lectures. So it can be useful as well. And the other thing I wanted to say is like personal helpers, assistants for it can be for students as well, but mainly for uh, teachers. And let's say this is my personal assistant. Every day he sends me like a Moreh Nevuchim paragraph, and I just talk to him. I connect him whatever tools I want, and he just do whatever I tell him to do. So this is another tool we can provide. And so yeah, these are kind of tools that I wanted to share. Moving on to another problem. If you want me to stop, just let me know. Um,
Okay, you know what? Let's save something for the next
okay,
lesson.
great.
Okay, because I do want us to go through another very important database and tool. And I think, but what we can take from your presentation, Yotam, is the fact that databases as stupid passive databases, it's not enough. We need to know how to use them efficiently and correctly and in ways that will enhance our studies and eventually our research, not only as sources of data, as sources of knowledge. Now, what I'd like you to do today is I want to show you a very important database. I use it on a regular basis. However, not many researchers in my field use this database. Main reason is because, if you ask me, because they don't really understand its enormous investment, its enormous importance in research. And it's called Itonut Yehudit Historit, or the English name will be, here you can see it. Uh, uh, it has an English name. Of course, it's hosted by NLI, by the National Library of Israel. And there we go, just a moment. Let's, in English, Historical Jewish Press. Now, as you can see, and this is very important, this is a compilation of hundreds of different journals and newspapers from throughout the past 3.5 centuries, more than 6 million pages in 30 different languages, just to give you a glimpse of the amount of data that is concentrated here. Just for example, let's assume a conservative assumption would be that each page of a newspaper contains approximately 1,000 words. That's very conservative because usually it's much more. Then we're talking about more than 6 billion words. Okay, so this is a really very powerful tool. Now you have endless papers from all over the regions of Jewish life throughout modern history, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from North America, from Israel, from Europe, whatever. Okay? So now, of course, not all of these newspapers cover all of the years, but you can, of course, narrow it down. You can take papers from 1835 to 1860, for example, and there you have a much narrower amount of papers. This is, of course, only the beginning of Hebrew press, as you can see, but still you have some papers. And what I want you to do is the following. Wait, you did see my screen, right? Did everyone see my screen? Okay, wonderful. So what I want you to do now, and this is kind of tricky, I want you all to choose not choose, I'm sorry. Let's take an event from recent history, but I'm talking recent, the past century. Let's take the Sanremo conference. Have you all heard of the Sanremo conference? If not, let me show it to you. Sanremo convention or conference. Just a moment. Here you go. I'll show it to you. Here you can see the Sanremo Conference, international meeting of the post-World War One Allied Supreme Council as an outgrowth of the Paris Peace Conference held at Castle de Vichon in Sanremo in Italy, 1920. Okay, the dates, please remember the dates. You can open it up afterwards. Now, what is important here for us is the fact that the Sanremo resolution passed on 25th of April determined the allocation of Class A League of Nations mandates for the administration of three then undefined Ottoman territories in the Middle East: Palestine, Syria, and Mesopotamia, Iraq. The boundaries of the three territories were to be determined by the principal Allied powers, leaving the status of outlying areas such as Tzor and Transjordan unclear. Now, the idea was that, in fact, this is the first time that Palestine was actually, its status was actually being enacted as something that will have a future of a Jewish sovereign state. Okay, because you have the Balfour Declaration from 2 years earlier, but it was just a declaration. This was here an alliance of all of the Allied forces that called for a true British mandate for Palestine in order to create a Jewish state. Okay? So the dates are from 19th to the 26th of April, and the resolution was passed on 25th of April. So far, so good. Please write this down. Okay? So April 25th, 1920, and that was the time of the Sanremo resolution. Now, what I want you to do is the following. Eli and Cam, are you with us? Do you hear what we're saying? Anyway, I'll just write it down here. What I want you to do is the following. Find at least 4 newspapers describing the San Remo resolution. Of those, at least one of these papers, if not more, should be in a language you don't know. Okay? Because we're going to use AI, as I told you in the beginning of the course, right? Then I want you to summarize these excerpts from the papers and analyze the differences. And eventually try to explain these differences according to data you collect regarding the nature of these journals or newspapers. Okay, how's that? So let's just summarize the mission. You need to find at least 4 newspapers describing the Sanremo resolution, at least one of them in a language you have no idea, Portuguese, I don't know, whatever. Afterwards, you need to collect these excerpts to translate if you need, and to summarize the differences in how they cover this issue, how they depict it. Because I guess those that come from a Zionist perspective will naturally be very different from those who come from a folkist, anti-Zionist, secular perception. Whereas both of these will be very different from a non-Zionist, Haredi, ultra-Orthodox perspective. I guess those that will cover this issue from Poland or from North Africa will be very different from those that will cover it from the land of Israel, from Palestine. And eventually, what I want you to do is to present this data and your analysis according to the data you can collect, you can find on these specific journals, what you can learn of them. Some of the data may be found in this database, but many of it, you'll have to look for it, search for it in Wikipedia or other platforms, but I trust you'll do your job faithfully. How's that? Mission clear? Yeah?
Yeah.
Cam, Ellie, Yotam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you have 20 seconds. No, just joking. Okay, so yeah, let's start working. I'll also do my best and just yeah. You want some
Um,
music for the background? No, because then it creates problems, right? Last time it created problems when we put some music. So okay, so yeah, just let's start working.
I had a problem with my audio, so I left and rejoined,
No,
and
no problem.
it's
Now
not
is it
showing me the
okay?
chat. It's fine,
Huh?
but the chat disappeared. So can you
Oh,
send it
yeah,
again,
yeah.
please?
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Thank
great,
you
great.
so
I'll,
much.
I'll just I'll just copy it and resend it. No problem. There we go. There we go. Now, did you get it?
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Great. And if you didn't catch the name of the database, it's called Jewish Press. Okay, Historical Jewish Press. Everything okay, everyone? How are you doing, everyone? Okay?
Yeah, I'm switching to France.
You need some more time?
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. Ellie, how are you doing?
Hmm. Yeah, I think also 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute.
One more minute. Okay, let's take a minute or two. Okay.
Just a second. Do you want me to start?
Just a moment. Yeah, just a moment. Okay. Okay. Anyone want to share their thoughts? Ellie, let's start with you. You want to share your screen? You don't have to, just only a few.
No, I don't think it'd be necessary.
Okay. So what do you
Um,
find?
so I found um 4 newspaper articles. Two of them are from something called the Sentinel, which I hadn't
Right.
heard of, but apparently it was a big newspaper during the 1900s, based in Chicago. Um, One of the articles I found was how the Danish Prime Minister was congratulating the Jews on a, it all sounds so funny today, like it feels like the last thing that would happen nowadays.
Yeah.
But the like any European leader. But anyway, so the Danish Prime Minister was congratulating Jews for Britain getting the mandate, which by extension meant that the Jews were going to get the homeland for themselves. That was one article. Another one, excuse me, was also from the Sentinel. I didn't realize they were both from the Sentinel until afterwards. Um, which was about how delegations representing both Jewish and Arab populations in Palestine were both present at this conference, presenting their case, and they agreed to cooperate in order to develop the Near East, which I assume is the Middle East, but I guess they called it the Near East then or
Yeah.
something. So based on those two, I thought that the Sentinel was the way it was written was very factual. It didn't seem to have much emotion. It was just reporting the basic fact of the Arabs and the Jews went there, and that's what happened. The Danish Prime Minister
Right.
congratulated, and that's all that happened. It didn't like have much passion behind what it was saying. It was just
Okay.
factual. And then the next one was more emotive and had more passion behind what it was saying. I just took two quick quotes from it, which are it said that the conference had been hailed as a triumph and it was bringing joy to the hearts of the people who heard about it. So that's already just from those two heroes, much more.
Yeah. Where does it come from?
That was from the uh, Jewish News of Northern California.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it was saying that the Jews of San Francisco got telegrams saying what had happened, and that's hailing it as a triumph and joy to the hearts of all those things. That was much more emotive, which was very nice. And then the last thing was from a Croatian newspaper, and I didn't have time to extract the text and see what it was about, so I'm not sure. But it's got
Okay.
lots of it says. Palestine and London and other words which are relevant throughout, which you can understand, but I couldn't understand the words in between.
Okay. Okay. What would you do if you had a few more minutes?
I would find a way to extract the text from that Croatian newspaper and get a translation and a summary of what it was talking about.
Uh, if you don't mind me saying, nowadays that's actually unnecessary because uh, most LLMs can do that for you without a glimpse, without a heartbeat. Just post it, copy it as is, and paste it. And usually they'll be able to identify the language by themselves. You don't even need to tell them it's Croatian. If the OCR can be easily extracted, they'll do it happily. And so you don't need to translate anything nowadays. You just need to give them the raw materials and they can do whatever they want. If you find yourself in a problem, sometimes the OCR can't extract the text, and well, we have tools for that too. But I mean, I didn't find any problems here. Even with very problematic newspapers, it was quite easy. But okay, great. Thank you. What did you learn from this, if I may ask?
You like from a digital perspective or just the actual news itself?
Well, the actual news, I mean, you could have read it beforehand, but now that this practice, did you gain something, understanding
Yeah.
how, I mean, from as a reader of news, I would say, or anything. I mean, any idea, any lesson, any
Yeah.
conclusions?
To be honest, I didn't even know about this conference until now. That was a big
Okay.
thing to learn. I knew Balfour Declaration, but I didn't know it had practical implications only 3 years later. I knew already how the whole Jewish world was interested in what was going on for the Zionist cause, but it's nice to see like San Francisco and Chicago, and I saw
Yeah.
Liverpool and London get mentioned on the way,
Yeah,
just
it wouldn't happen in
all
San
around the world.
Francisco today that much, I guess. Yeah.
But I suppose I always find it interesting how, I don't know, in my head, the world being so connected is a very new thing. But it's not actually, it's just it being connected quickly is a new thing.
Right,
It's
right.
been forever that the world's been connected. So it's always, I just find that aspect interesting. And I also didn't know about this database at all. That was a very
Okay,
fascinating thing to
wonderful.
learn about.
Wonderful. Okay, Yotam, what about you?
So I found 4 articles, as we said. Two of them in Hebrew, one in French, one is German. The first two is Doar Hayom,
Yeah,
although there's no Vav, so
yeah.
I was wondering if it's another word. The
No,
second
that's how
is
that's how they wrote. They wrote in Ktav Chaser, yeah.
yeah. The second is Haolam, and the difference between two of them is the Olam is dealing with something that a Rav Kook got from another rabbi from London, and they were talking mainly of theology and mainly religious celebrations and Atchalta de Geula. The Deor Hayom is talking mainly about the relations between France, Syria, and the Zionist movement. And the French article was talking, it actually was mainly related to Herzl, and they were talking about his conferences as part of like Herzl's legacy and achievements.
Of course, he was dead 16 years already. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but and it's really interesting that they still hold it for him.
Yeah.
So it's nice. And German was talking mainly from economic perspective, and they mentioned it as part of something I don't really know because I didn't read it. But I can like deeper in the summary that they give me. But this is the overall chiluk.
Okay, fantastic. Cam, Did you succeed in doing anything despite the fact you're not in office? Okay. Okay, you're just listening, no problem. Okay, so I want to share because I prompted my chat GPT and if this may be of assistance, perhaps perhaps this could be helpful. I actually I'll show you. Wait just a moment. Stop sharing. I'll show you my prompt and just let's here you go. Uh here you go. I'll show you my prompt. I found 6 papers. I mean, I found more, but I wanted to diversify. Please see these excerpts from Jewish newspapers, of course. Please create a comparison of the way they cover the results of the convention with emphasis on Messianism, Zionism, national identity, anti-Semitism, and any other idea. Additionally, gather materials on these journals, forgive my typos, and tell me if and how what you read resonates with the characteristics of these journals. Now, it wasn't too hard. I mean, it took the chat a few moments, but eventually, after several minutes, I actually got all I wanted. And you can see here, I also found the Sentinel. By the way, the chat identified where each of these papers is published by its own. I did not give that data. But the thing was that the differences are really amazing. Specifically, I want to focus on the messianic and redemptive aspect. Here you can see from the Sentinel, there is a restrained religious liturgical aspect, recommends Hallel, speaks of redemption, but as I think as Eli said, it's more of a public thanksgiving fundraising rather than apocalyptic messianism. When you look into the Jewish Observer from Australia, nothing. Almost entirely political news, emphasizing the British Labour support for the mandate. Well, we're a long way from that, of course. Here you see in the Hebrew Standard from New York, the strongest messianic text. It is a demythologized messianism, no supernatural Messiah, no miracle, but the living Jewish people as its own redeemer with Herzl and practical Zionists as living messiahs. Moreover, you can see the language, the national language is very intense. Jews become a great nation among nations. Palestine is Jewish, not Turk, not Arabian. Most exclusive national language in the set. Moreover, and this is why I brought, by the way, this piece. The title was "The Golos is Over." Sanremo ends 1850 years of exile. I found that really astonishing. Now, what was very nice here, I found this paper from Bucharest, a Romanian Jewish newspaper, and it wasn't messianic in any way, nor was it specifically religious, but it talked a lot about oppression. Jews as a people without a homeland, long suffering, scattered, yet historically persisted. And now you see a self-emancipation idea. This was very, very interesting for me. As you mentioned, Doar Hayom, I think it's quite the same piece that you mentioned, Yotam. What I liked here is that the chat identified the first person local nationalism, our land, our historic land, our national home. Everything is in first person plural. Now, what was quite fascinating was that I found this paper. I'll show it to you just a moment. It was from an Arab newspaper. Just a moment. Here, this guy. Al-Nafir. Just a moment. Now, here, they were extremely cautious. Now, this paper, Al-Nafir, just I'll show you a bit about it, is from Egypt. Oh, I'm sorry, it's from Palestine, but it's an Arabic newspaper that was Ibrahim Zaka founded a newspaper called Al-Nafir Al-Uthmani, published in Alexandria, and that's why I said beforehand that it was Egyptian. Afterwards, his brother made Aliyah and moved to Haifa. Now, this was a paper that was Jewish. However, it had a lot of readership that were Arabs. And thus, it was considered something of a hybrid form of a newspaper. And if you look into the conclusions, just a moment, then you can actually see that the Sanremo material appears in a broader Middle Eastern diplomatic newsframe around the Turkish question and mandates. No national identity. Zionism is not the organizing lens of the page. The item reads Sanremo as regional diplomacy rather than Jewish national redemption. And the thing is very, very neutral. Now, of course, it also gave me this very nice conclusions here. And as you can see, the Jewish newspapers did not merely report Sanremo. They translated it into their own communal languages. Moreover, the shared denominator is not simply Zionist triumph. It is the sense that Sanremo changed the grammar of Jewish existence, from prayer to work, from suffering to construction, from dispersed peoplehood to recognized national home. Now, essentially speaking, and this is where I want to be very frank with you, this work that all of you did, now, okay, I know I'm a bit more practiced and rehearsed, I would say, using both this database and also how to analyze it in an academic format. But to be honest, 5 years ago, this would have taken 2 days' work. And believe me, I'm not exaggerating because I did this in the past. At Bar-Ilan University's library, you have a large collection of microfilms of Jewish newspapers from the past 2 centuries. Yotam, have you seen it ever? Okay, so believe me, no one has opened that collection for several years now. It's just getting dusted over there. No one is opening. I tried. This took me days. Now, what I'm trying to say here is not only that this is a way to be more efficient, because of course that goes without saying, because all of us, some of us more novice than others, we completed this task in 15, 20 minutes, okay? A task that for rehearsed scholars would have taken a day or two, only 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not trying to convince you to save more time. On the contrary, what I want to exemplify here is that nowadays we have the tools to begin our research at a much higher level, because what I expect from my students when I give such a task, or of course, this task can be voluntary. If you want to write a paper, if you want to write a research summary, I want you to use and harness these tools as the first layer of your research. That is, this would have been considered, I mean, what I composed right now, I didn't compose it. I mean, I used the LLM to compose it, This could have been considered the core argument for a nice, friendly paper that can be elaborated into an argument and a thesis that would be a legitimate article in an academic journal. I mean, yeah, of course, I needed to elaborate. I would put some more emphasis on the authors and the context and so on and so forth. But generally and honestly, this could have been considered the core for an academic article. Moreover, I can tell you, for some people, it still is a core for an academic paper. I believe that nowadays we cannot look at this as anything sufficient, because nowadays we have the tools to create meta-analysis on a level unheard of only several years ago. Because as a reviewer of a paper, I know exactly how much time and effort is needed to invest in a paper like this. So if I would have received this score of a paper for review, I would tell you immediately that someone just gathered some material in a database and just dumped it in the LLM, and that's what they got. Now, here's where I think what I expect from my students, specifically if they're graduate students, is to level their game. Okay, this is now your starting point. It's not your conclusion. So I think that it's not that we can do more in less time. We can do more in the same time, because my expectancy is that this will be elaborated in depth, and you can actually create profound uh, 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 can achieve profound results using these tools. Now, the fact that this database is enormous is more of, the Talmud says that Hillel mechayev et aniyim. Hillel, the president, okay, uh, whenever someone poor uh, dies and goes to heaven, they'll have no excuses, because what will they say? I was poor, I didn't have time to study. Well, look at Hillel. He was much poorer than you, and look at the great achievements he achieved, and look where he got. From my perspective, nowadays we have no excuses anymore, because in the past people could say, I had no access to all of this material. I didn't know how to translate Slovakian or Romanian or Arabic texts. How would I know? I mean, I needed to consult with a translator. I needed to pay money. I needed to find an editor. I needed to find an expert in computer science. I needed a whole bunch of stuff and people and resources. Nowadays, we don't need these resources. Hence, I believe that nowadays we can be much better academic scholars. Not the same level, but with less efforts, but with increased efforts, we can be much, much better. Now, it's not that we're smarter, but we have better tools. I mean, you can be the best gardener in the world, but if you don't have a water, then nothing will grow in your garden. However, if you're a very lousy gardener, but you have a sufficient supply of water, then you'll have no problem, and eventually your garden will flourish. So the thing is, it's not that we're smarter, but we do have really better tools. Now, any questions? Just up to this point. Okay. Fine with that. Now, what I want us to do is to play detectives. Okay, and here is where, because so far, the way we use this database was as a easy to access papers. I gave you the specific dates. I gave you the place. I gave you the context. But I only asked you to analyze material that I actually mediated to you. Now I want to check using this database and this database only, uh, if we can find ourselves in a better place to not only understand and analyze, but also to use this as a tool for detective work. And for this, I'll ask you the following. Okay, we can use Hebrew, but we'll do it with limited capacity. I don't want to give anyone an advantage that won't be fair, but let's say, oh, I'll write it down in the chat. Let's find the representatives of the Jewish side in the Shaw committee. Okay. Find me the names of the representatives of the Jewish side in the Shaw committee. Okay.
Like their names?
Yeah, their names. Their names. Yeah, I want to find at least 4 or 5 names. Okay. Yeah, let's get to it.
Well, but for this specific use case, we can just use Wikipedia, don't we?
Yeah, but I want you to use this database. I was trying to find something that won't be in Wikipedia, but frankly, I didn't have the inspiration to look into it. Now, yes, but please find it from here. Because many times it's not in Wikipedia, all of the Any news? Any success?
I found only two,
Okay. Two is nice.
which I'm not really sure that were in the
Ah,
meeting. Okay, I think I have
so,
three.
oh, you have them?
I have three. Uh,
Okay.
Lord Passfield?
No, he was
No?
not. He was not Jewish.
Ah, you meant Jewish, right?
Yeah, I mean
Right.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay, let me.
Except for Weizmann, which is kind of easy.
No, I wanted to like find the exact person that mentions in the articles. I
Oh,
don't
okay,
want to
okay.
like use yeah.
Is Selig Brodetsky someone, or is that something else?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
He is one of the people.
I think he was.
And B Namia.
Who?
Send in the chat. Might be something else.
Okay. It was Moshe Shartok. He was one of the members, and Dr. Joseph Yasau. I'm not sure about his name, and there were several others. I'll tell you why I asked this kind of difficult and what seems to be obscure question, and why I didn't allow using Wikipedia here. Because, and this is the other side of the coin of the previous example. I'm afraid of the fact that we are addicted to Wikipedia, and we forget that our job, or one of our jobs, is to excel in using archives. And I think that despite the fact that the material is much more accessible, but we need to sharpen our blades when it comes to mining data. We need to understand how to ask the questions. I needed to ask 4 times the question in various configurations in English and Hebrew in order to find the response. And I needed to pinpoint dates and so on and so forth, and allow myself some leeway here in order to find specific papers and specific articles where I could find the results. And what I'm trying to say is that the fact that everything is accessible nowadays, and that everything is really just 2 clicks away, doesn't mean that we can allow ourselves to be mediocre when it comes to mining data. And in a sense, the expectations are now higher when it comes to the outcome of our research, as I said beforehand, but also in the mining abilities we have. I expect my students nowadays to know a lot more details and to understand history in much higher resolution than before, because they didn't have access to all of the historical data and information. Nowadays, every municipality has some sort of database that is accessible and even searchable in a sense. No excuses anymore. For example, I'm working on a big project on Hungarian Jewry. There's a database nowadays called Arcanum. It has millions and millions of documents, but the OCR is crap, and I don't know Hungarian. But that's not an excuse anymore. Here's the thing. I really have to dig deeper and deeper. Now, only a few years ago, in order to find something in Budapest's municipal database, I needed to travel to Budapest and to sit 2 days, and whatever I found in those 2 days was my data, and whatever I didn't found, I would have never ever seen it again. Nowadays, I can go again and again and check and double check and triple check. And afterwards, only after I've exhausted all my attempts, I can declare that my findings have come to an end. So the two very, very poles, different poles of this equation are now on our shoulders. We have to have better analysis powers. We have to enhance our abilities in compiling large amounts of data, finding, analyzing, assessing, comparing, and so on and so forth. But also, we need to sharpen our abilities when it comes to mining data, even specific high resolution points and various facts. We need to know how to use this. And I'll tell you, since most of you are in your earlier stages of research, sometimes, and I still do this, I just practice like every other talent and every other skill and craft. I just have to practice. So sometimes I just go to databases and start learning whatever, just trying to find data, trying to enhance my abilities, and eventually it pays. Okay, fellas. It was great meeting you again. Next time, next week. We'll see you, and be well and be safe.
תודה.
Okay, bye bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye bye.